flying low and slow, so everyone can shoot at you.
Mi-24.
I'm 24, and I've already flown over 70 combat missions. I'm now at more than 200 combat missions. That means this guy completed at least 130 missions in 365 days. That's 1.5 times more than the number of games an NBA team plays in a season. If you subtract sleep, maintenance, and rare days off, Ukrainian Army aviation pilots are flying nearly one mission every single day. And that's not even the full picture of how intense this war is. Our main task is supporting our infantry. When helicopters show up on the battlefield, they boost the morale of Ukrainian troops and crush the enemy's spirit. When a chopper starts engaging the target, it's scarier for enemy infantry than artillery. It's like dancing a waltz at over 300 kilometers per hour, but with rockets. And just because you're in the air doesn't mean you're safe. A lot of the time, it's close quarters combat. The pilot can take a bullet or a man-pads missile, because down on the ground, you're lit up like the MSG Sphere in Las Vegas. When you fire your weapons, you might be just 200 to 150 meters from the enemy. You dive straight into a cloud of fire and shrapnel. And this happens every day for 3.5 years straight. Yet the helicopters are still flying. How the hell do these machines survive such conditions? Must be some kind of next-gen super chopper, right? Our newest helicopter is the Mi-17. It was designed in 1965. Yep, the Mi-17, courtesy of the United States. We'll get to what that is and why the US gave them to Ukraine in a moment. But first, if you want to see what Ukrainian pilots really think of the helicopters they fly, and what it's like inside these machines, smash that like button so the soulless YouTube algorithm shows this video to more people. And as a thank you, here's a fun fact most of your friends probably don't know. Ukrainian is the only language in the world with 3 commonly used words for helicopter. Maybe it's because Mr. Sikorsky, the father of the modern chopper, was born and raised in Kyiv. But one thing is clear, Ukrainians have a special relationship with their helicopters. A helicopter isn't just a machine. It's part of our team, part of a small family. It helps us get the job done, and it pulls us out of trouble. All right then, let's take off. First up, the Mi-24, or HIND as NATO calls it. Designed in the late 1960s and 70s, this beast is basically an infantry fighting vehicle with rotors. This bird is armored. It can take a hit from a 50 cal. With its sleek fuselage and wing-shaped stabilizers, the Mi-24 is still one of the fastest attack helicopters on the planet, topping out at 345 kilometers per hour. And yeah, even when it's just sitting in the grass, it looks ready to eat something. If you've got insectophobia, fear of bugs, stay back. Because up close, this thing is basically a flying crocodile. Inside the cockpit, you've got 2 seats. The commander pilot sits in the back, a bit higher up, with a better view and full flight control. Up front is the weapons operator. But here's the twist. Both crew members can fly the bird and fire the weapons. So how do they avoid turning into a flying blender? Simple, strict radio discipline and tight coordination. They talk through an intercom using short clipped phrases. Got it? No? It's stuff like taking control, ready to fire, target in sight, passing control. Roughly the same phrases they use later at the bar. So yeah, your bartender might actually be halfway to becoming a pilot. But clear comms aren't everything. That's why this crew runs like a family, maybe even closer than that. I've been flying with my commander since day 1 of the full-scale invasion, and we're still flying together. Experienced teams barely need words. They just know what the other's about to do, even before anyone says a thing. And in this family, there's a third member, the helicopter itself. Most guys give their birds female names. Which ones? Let's just say that's kind of personal. We'll get to superstitions later, but first, let's talk weapons. The Mi-24 can carry a 12.7mm quad-barrel machine gun, a twin 23mm aircraft cannon, or more commonly a twin-barrel 30mm cannon. It's absolute hell for infantry and lightly armored vehicles. But against tanks? More like a mosquito bite. There was one time the commander fired a few bursts into a tank turret. One round bounced back straight into the commander's cockpit blister and got lodged in the armor cover. As you can see, the Mi-24's missile loadout is pretty versatile. For self-defense against aircraft or drones, Ukrainian versions often come equipped with Stinger missiles. But Army aviation in Ukraine is mostly used against ground targets, and for that, the main tool of destruction is the unguided rocket, or NAR. We're talking about S-5, S-8, and S-13 rockets, the same stuff often seen on Soviet-era helicopters and attack jets. When you fire off 50 to 60 rockets in one salvo, you feel all-powerful. I didn't expect it to be that intense. Let's break it down. S5, the smallest one. It's more of a crowd sprayer. Light, cheap, and perfect against infantry or soft targets. Up to 32 rockets per pod. S8, the sweet spot. Around 20 rockets per pod, with better accuracy and solid performance against bunkers and vehicles. S13, the beast. Only 5 rockets per pod, but these punch through concrete and heavy armor. The only issue? They're getting harder to find. That's why Ukraine is now integrating the American Hydra 70. This is a 70mm unguided rocket, perfect for taking out both infantry and light armor. And coming soon, the legendary Zuni. Yep, 127mm Zuni rockets are expected to enter service on Ukrainian helicopters. Depending on when you're watching this, the first Zunis may already be in action. So, subscribe now to see US rockets launched from Soviet-era helis, and support our work while you're at it. Thanks for sticking with us. But helicopters don't just blast targets from the sky. They also insert tactical assault teams behind enemy lines. The Mi-24 can carry up to 8 troops, but the Mi-8, another workhorse of the Ukrainian military, can fit up to 24 soldiers, or 12 wounded on stretchers. The Mi-8 is one of the most mass-produced and iconic Soviet-era utility helicopters. It's often paired with the Mi-24 because they were both built by the same design bureau, which means they share a ton of components, great for logistics and pilot training. Ukrainian troops have been using the Mi-24 plus Mi-8 combo since at least 2014, a powerful 1-2 punch of attack plus transport that still gets the job done today. My main bird is the Mi-8, but I'm currently training on the Mi-24, so I'll be flying both. The Mi-8 and Mi-24 may come from the same design bureau, but they're not twins, and Ukrainian pilots know the difference. In the Mi-8, the pilots sit side by side, both with full controls. So yes, it's a crew family, just with more guys. You've got the commander on the left, co-pilot on the right, and a third crew member in the middle. That's usually a flight engineer, navigator, or weapons operator, depending on the mission. And about those weapons, usually we mount rocket pods on both sides, S8s or S13s, plus a machine gun up front, and sometimes another in the tail. Ukrainian pilots often fire unguided rockets while pitching upward, a known combat trick called lofting. You angle the nose up just a few degrees and launch your rockets on an arc, like mini artillery shells. That way, you can fire from just 30 to 100 feet off the ground, low enough to stay under enemy radar and out of direct fire. Mi-8s and Mi-24s might look alike at first glance. They both have twin engines, similar payload capacity, and can carry troops and weapons. And yeah, they shoot rockets the same way. But in terms of battlefield role, they're built for very different things. The Mi-8's job is to deliver stuff: troops, ammo, wounded, mobile HQs, or electronic warfare gear. Its importance is proven by the existence of its famous export version, the Mi-17. The Mi-17 is a modified Mi-8. That thing just flies like a dream on its own. Fun fact, the United States once bought Mi-17s from Russia to supply the Afghan army. Why? Because Afghans already knew how to use them, and they're way easier to maintain than American choppers. Fast forward to 2021. The US pulls out of Afghanistan. Some of those Mi-17s end up in Uzbekistan, and it turns out they were outfitted with some very handy extras: countermeasures against man-pads, extra armor, and night flight systems. All of that perfect for Ukraine. The first flight into besieged Mariupol, where Ukrainian troops held Azovstal steel plant, was flown on a Mi-17. Honestly, we couldn't believe we pulled it off. Between March 21st and May 11th, 2022, 15 helicopters and 45 crew members flew nearly 30 rescue missions to Azovstal. They brought in reinforcements, Starlink terminals, ammo, and medicine. They flew out the wounded. And if you couldn't fly back, the order was, if you can't return, grab your rifle and fight. Because let's be real, if a helicopter gets hit, the chances of surviving are slim. Because of the rotor blades, you can't eject. There is something called an emergency exit, but that only works at certain speeds and altitudes. But combat flights like these happen just 16 feet or a bit more off the ground. To deploy a parachute, you'd need at least 200 feet. And there's another reason why getting hit by a man-pads is basically a death sentence for a helicopter pilot. If you've got people on board, you're not jumping out. The commander stays with the bird till the very end. Yes, every chopper has flares. And yes, for years it felt like those flares were endless. But this war has a way of teaching you otherwise. One time, the missile fire was so intense, by the time we got back, we had 0 flares left. We fired off every single one. Let's just say, we got lucky. The machines are running on fumes, pushed to the limit. You're supposed to carry 20 people, but you load up 28 wounded and do whatever it takes to get them out. You push the airframe till it's practically screaming, boiling hot and burning. That's why Ukrainian crews now hang weapons only on 2 of the 6 hardpoints on most helicopters. The rest are too worn out. But Ukraine does have some birds it doesn't fly every day, only for top priority missions. Enter the Sikorsky UH-60 Black Hawk. That's right, Mr. Sikorsky made it home. The first 2 Black Hawks went to Ukraine's defense intelligence, but you won't find much info about them. Why? Because HUR operates in the shadows. And the Black Hawk? It's one of the most recognizable helicopters in the world, meaning just seeing it can blow a whole operation. Still, we're pretty sure the Black Hawk shares one thing with every other chopper in this video. Notice those little fans in every cockpit? They're not just for air circulation. They're basically a cult object, a symbol of stability. Back in the day, they were the only source of ventilation. Today, even with modern AC, those fans stay right where they are. Some pilots even take them along when switching aircraft. If that fan doesn't spin when the engine fires up, time to check everything again on the ground? Superstition? Maybe, but war is full of them. Want a separate video about military superstitions? Drop a comment, or tell us what we should cover next.